Okay, today we are in the corner with Shia Azu, the business architect, and she is here to drop a little gems on something you guys may know as business grants. Shia, welcome to the Creative Corner on Create and Hustle. How are you doing today?
I'm amazing. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. So give us a little bit of background about what you do and, what you have going on.
So I'm Shia Azu, and I'm a business architect, and I teach people how to build a foundation for their business first, and then the rest of it brick by brick. So I have a thing where, do you want it to be quick, right? Do you want it to be not of good quality and flimsy, or do you want it to be steady, valuable, and sustainable?
And those are the key things. Like, it's either or. You're going to have one or the other. We're on 106.1 Richmond with Shia Azu. And one thing, when it comes to creating businesses, and this is the show where I like to ask creatives how they took their ideas and turned it into a business. And a lot of times money is a factor as to why you can't scale your business to something, even more. Give us a little bit of info about that and about grants and what a grant actually is.
Okay, so I'm a part of an amazing group. We're called the Black Entrepreneur Excellence Group. And the excellent part, a lot of people kind of shy away when they hear that because they think it's a standard. It is a standard, but you have to also take all the other words, the Black part and the entrepreneurial part. By human DNA and nature, we are entrepreneurial. You cannot take that out of someone's DNA, especially if you're Black. And when it comes to Black part of excellence is we know how to do a lot with a little or nothing. Right? And
Exactly.
so that's where we come in, where a majority of the clients, participants we work with, they are startups. We're from startups to medium. And what happens, they come to us and they say, I don't have the money to do X, Y, and Z. You don't have the money if you stay not doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So I'm the mindset coach. Every Monday I have calls and I'm talking about mindset, because it's the mind over matter situation. I'm going to be stressed if I invest. I'm going to be stressed if I take on another thing. You're going to be stressed if you stay at that low paying job.
Yeah.
So which stress do you want?
That's so true. Pick a struggle.
Yeah. So that's what I do. When it comes into grants, especially with anyone who's not familiar with it, it's the difference between a loan and a grant. Really basic stuff, right? But it's important to know if someone's offering you terms, conditions, repayments, that's not a grant, that's a loan.
That's a loan.
You don't need any loans. When you come to look for grants, the number one thing is confidence. If you can read and write, you can get a grant. And if you can't read and write, you know somebody who can read and write. Come on, somebody. So the number one thing I do, honestly, I get paid to boost people's confidence. I sit with you, I hold your hand in a sense and tell you can do this. And I remind people of the audacity of where we live in this country. America was built on audacity, and it's not debatable. It was built on audacity, right, to get certain things done. And it was built on the idea of by any means necessary. If nothing else, I think we can agree on that to a certain extent. You take that same foundational idea of audacity and you act like your program is worth that money. I'm going to ask, let's say I have a need in my organization, it's $500. Mm-hmm. No, it's $5,000. Because what you can do with 500, you can do with 5,000 on a bigger scale. So I'm constantly boosting people's confidence in themselves.
To take the chance.
And your business. And I have, that's a lot of money. What's a lot of money to a millionaire, to a billionaire, to a corporation? That's a lot of money to you. Yeah. And I'm constantly saying, okay, if you won't do it for yourself, do it for your community. Do it for your kids. Do it for your grandkids. Like I'm constantly boosting, like ask for the money. And so let's use this thing. When your light bill comes, does it have a note? Hey, if you can pay us, please pay us by this date. Or do they just send you the bill?
Yeah, that's very true.
And so mindset. Go ahead.
You're listening to Create and Hustle on 106.1 Richmond FM. And I'm here with Shia Azu, who is a business architect, and we're sitting here discussing grants. So one thing that I wanted to kind of shift the conversation towards, like, what areas or arenas do you find that grants are easier to obtain? Like, is there a certain field or industry?
No. The reason why I say that is because the donor and grantee relationship is it's a reciprocal relationship, is reciprocity. So just like an organization needs money to fund its employees or its projects, a funder needs an organization to fund. It's not necessarily free money. Nothing's really free, right? So what is the funder getting? The funder is getting tax write-offs, because either they're gonna give it to you or they're gonna give it to Uncle Sam. Who would you rather give to? The IRS?
Yeah.
Or
I'll
a nice
take
little
that. Thank you.
grassroots organization,
Yeah.
right? So it depends on your funder. I don't like to say if things are, I guess, easier to obtain, because it just depends on the actual grant and what you're going for in the industry. I don't think there's an industry that cannot be funded and granted.
And in that same regard, as far as getting a grant, when you write a grant and do grant presentations, like, what do you say has to be in there? Like, what is going to get that approved? Like, what element, should you always involved in the grant writing process?
I'm gonna say this, it goes back to what you can write for. So let's take a piece of it. If you can read and write, you can do a grant. It depends on how much detail you want to use and what the grantor is looking for. The problem is people don't look at grants. They don't even know what they look like. They haven't even searched for one. So how can you say you cannot, or how hard something is, if you have not tested your own level in it?
Yeah.
And so people are, it's a rumor. It's a rumor. Oh, it's hard to get, oh, you can't. Who told you these things? So-and-so told you. Has so-and-so gotten any grant? Has so-and-so written a grant? Do they have any fundraisers? Do they have donors? Do they have a funding base? Who told you this? And so when I sit down with clients and I go through a program where we fill out the grant, we make the programs, we do the templates, and I send it, and they're like, that's it? I'm like, that's it.
That's it. It's funny that you say that, because a lot of times, like, I tell people all the time, like, there's no right. You just got to do it. And if it's wrong, someone will let you know along the way, but you just got to keep trying stuff to let you know. Can you, and the last question that I have for you is, and you kind of answered it already, should you go out and spend money on a grant writer?
Yes and no. Number one, what is a grant writer? I have a lot of people who come to me and they say, I want you to write a grant for me, Shia. I said, what? For what? For my business. But what about your business?
Yeah.
And then they said, well, I'm gonna hire somebody. What's your job description? What do they do? I had a woman who came to me. She had a grant writer for 12 weeks. She paid her $2,500. That's not anything really for a grant writer. And you can get them on different scales for different things. I said, how much money did you get? She said, nothing. I said, what grants did she write for? She said, I don't know. So you don't even have a record of who may have seen you previously, so you can go back to them and maybe be more familiar with them this time. So the number one thing before you get a grant writer is you need to know what a grant writer is, what they do, and their metrics. How do you measure what you gave them in money versus what they spent in time and actual working on your behalf? I want a grant writer. I want a grant writer. I want money. I want money. If you don't have capital in your business, as I told them, if you don't have capital, where are your connections? Because somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
They know somebody.
Right?
So we've been kicking it in the creative corner with Shia Azu, the business architect. Shia, I really enjoyed this information, because, like, grants is something that I really need to explore, because I'm running a whole podcast network here, and it's something that, I've been looking into. So this information is helpful. Tell the people where they can find you and, what things you have coming up and all of that.
Okay, awesome. So I am a part of the B Group. I'm a co-founder. It's the Black Entrepreneur Excellence Group. You can go to the bgroup.net and find me. I'm on Facebook under Shia, Shia Azu, Azu. I'm in all the nonprofit corners and groups, dropping as much knowledge as I can. And I'm just excited to see us go after what we need, right? But confidently, right?
Amen.
Confidently.
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 Well, guys, this has been the Creative Corner on Creative Hustle, where we like to ask creatives how they took their ideas and turned it into a business. Shia, thank you for joining me, and we will talk soon.
Absolutely.
All right.